What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In particular, welcome to our Friday morning show, Friday afternoon show, Friday noon show, whatever you want to call it, whatever time zone you're in. It's the Rex and the Robbie show. And today we're going to be talking about the Flash movie and mostly pondering why it has officially tanked. It's flopped. The Flash is dead. On arrival, pretty much, it is not going to make money. It means making money, but it ain't going to be making the money that it needs to make to be considered a success. But you can't have the Rex and the Robbie show without Robbie. That's me. And, of course, without Rex. What is up, my man?
Peace. So, my favorite topic, Ezra Miller.
we had to give you one more chance, at least, to talk about Ezra Miller.
I think you're being too pessimistic. I think this topic will rear its ugly head again. I'm optimistic.
All right. Well, before we get into it, I got a little bit of a taste test. I got this Snickers iced coffee.
Okay, that's very interesting.
This could go either way. You know, I was like, I wanted a coffee, and I've had this in the fridge for a minute. My buddy Mike got it for me, so let's see.
And
it tastes like a liquid Snickers.
Okay.
It tastes pretty good, actually. It tastes really sweet, but it's really good. It's really sweet, though.
I got to imagine it's got to be. I mean, a Snickers is pretty sweet as it is.
Yeah, there's only 23 grams of sugar in this tiny little can.
Yeah, you'll be all right. I'm sure it won't make your hair fall out.
Anyway, it's all right. I'd give that a 4 out of 5. I'd give that, yeah. So the Flash. First of all, I'll just say this: I still haven't seen the Flash. I don't think Rex has seen it either, right?
I have not. No.
All right. So this isn't a review of the Flash, and what I've heard some people say it's kind of disappointing. Some people say it's okay. Some people say they loved it. Right. So I'm getting a lot of mixed stuff. I think it's got a good audience score. I think it's got a little bit of a low critic score, but the numbers are not there. Domestically, it made $55 million. Its opening weekend, they were definitely hoping for more than that.
All right. So we're going to bring our expert witness who's actually seen the movie.
Hey.
Hello. Hey, Amy.
Who's going to join us?
I got breakfast with me. I'm sorry. I came in a little late.
Oh, there's no eating on the Rockin Robbie show. No.
Yeah, you can only drink super high sugary coffee drinks like me, apparently.
Yes, that's all you're allowed to do, and water.
All right, so since me and Rex haven't actually seen the movie, Amy has. What are your thoughts?
Wait, I want to preface her answer.
Okay.
All right. This way you can chew and swallow and not choke because I don't remember how to do the Heimlich that good. All right. Wow. Anyway, I'm just giving you a heads up.
I feel so safe.
I would scream for somebody in the office who can do the Heimlich better than I could to come help. All right, so Amy has been a tremendous supporter of any kind of superhero genre series or movie. And even movies that have not scored well or we have not called a success, Amy usually come out with a positive spin. All right. Now, the reason I'm prefacing this is I want you to understand that her reaction to The Flash, listening to her talking to John Cole, was probably the most negative I've ever heard come from her. Okay. Not in general, but just from her. So that to me, knowing Amy, I'm thinking, I know she was trying to defend it in certain parts, but after hearing what she had to say, my mind says, wow, Amy thinks it sucks. That's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't say sucks.
See what I mean? The fact that you say that, you wouldn't say sucks, tells me it sucks.
Most people, and myself included, like, it's a fun movie. It's an enjoyable watch, but it's still not perfect. But but the question of today is like, why did it flop? Like, well, there's more than one reason. There's at least like 10.
Yeah, I got 3 things. Like, first of all, there's the Ezra Miller situation, right? Then you got
his fault.
Well, there's more. I think it's a combination of a bunch of factors because there's a little bit of that, but then there's the idea that we know a reboot is on the horizon. Right. Mm-hmm. So some people are like, well, if people know that James Gunn's rebooting it, maybe that hinders stuff. But I think overall what it is just this is the track record of the DCEU. This is how it's been going for them. They haven't been having a string of successes. They've had a string of failures with some successes. And I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better. And I think the Flash, like, a lot of people were really pumped when they saw that Super Bowl trailer for this. A lot of people came in the shop to see a lot of people on my channel. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, Michael Keaton's back. That's awesome. Nobody went to see this movie. Like, I think it's more of a distrust of the DCEU but it's a combination of all those kind of factors. But if you just look at the track record of the DCEU,
the track record's not great. And as much as I know a lot of us do love Michael Keaton, but people, especially the younger generation, they're like, who's that? Or what? Why was he was Batman? What? So they're like, the nostalgia factor is not going to play for everybody who goes to see the movie.
That's right.
And then there's another factor. The TV show just ended, nearly a decade. So people are like, well, this was my Flash. What's the deal with this one? So and especially watching the series myself, like, and seeing them, like, there are parts in the movie where I'm going, yeah, the show did this better.
All right. Well, the discussion about it should have been Grant Gustin, not Ezra Miller. We've been back and forth with that. All right. And we all know that I enjoy the Ezra Miller bashing as much as the next guy. But in all honesty, I do believe he played a small factor in the low box office. Okay. And what I mean by that is I do think that there is a percentage of fans out there that did not go to see it because they felt like it was rewarding that kind of behavior. So, but again, I believe that is a very, very small percentage. And quite honestly, I think the other factor, again, I think it plays a role, but I don't think it was a very good movie from what I'm hearing. Even fans like Amy, I have another buddy who is a big MCU, just superhero movies. I told him about John. He got himself his own Regal pass. So, this is a guy who really enjoys it, right? And he, like Amy, usually, even if the movie is critically and does not get a good Rotten Tomato score, he'll come out and say something positive. I talked to him after he saw The Flash. First time I ever heard him say this about a superhero movie. He even tried to defend Ant-Man, and he told me straight up that The Flash sucks. Okay, so that tells me that, wow, even the hardcore. So I believe that plays a percentage. But he went to see it and openly admitted to me he was going to go see it again. So he's not part of the problem, obviously. But, of course, good movie, bad movie, word of mouth, that initial day when the hardcore fans go and see it on Thursday night or Friday or whatever, if they come out and they say what my friend said, what Amy said, then I'm thinking twice, maybe I'm not going this weekend then. Okay, not that I would go anyway, but you know what I'm saying? So I think it does play a role. But again, I believe it is a small part. I read an article this week, which I believe plays the major part of why the box office receipts failed. And it was very interesting. Basically, the article was saying that the concept of the Regals and the AMCs, they're dying. They're dying and they're never coming back. And it's not just because of the pandemic. It's not because of the pandemic, actually, the article stressed. The pandemic accelerated things, but those things were already happening, would have happened irregardless of the pandemic. Okay? It just brought an early demise to it. And I think there was less of a transition to dealing with that because of the pandemic. But ultimately, the same problem would have occurred. And the problem is what they're finding is nobody's going to the movie theater unless it is blockbuster superhero movie.
Movies are also just getting more expensive. And then part of it is...
Well, hold on. No. This guy,
y'all are freezing. Y'all are freezing on
I
us.
really haven't thought about it. Okay. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
All the time.
You're back a little bit there. Yeah, but you froze for a second there.
But also made me think, because I know you say part of the reason pandemic wasn't part of the reason, but also people are now kind of more conditioned to waiting until something comes to streaming, like you.
Yeah, well, I've always been
That's
like that.
true, right? That's true, but Mario made $1 billion this year. John Wick 4 broke franchise records.
Wait. You didn't let me finish. Big action adventure films, okay, or anything that you would want to see in IMAX. So Mission Impossible, things like that, right? So, but they've also proven that they've become more selective. So that means that no, it's not like Endgame. Oh my God, Avengers Endgame, we're going. Now they're more discriminating. Like, think about it. And he pinpointed the beginning of this cause as to the onset of the big screen TV, the high def big screen TV. As they've gotten bigger and bigger, they've cracked into the movie market. And the reason is, think about it. $15 a ticket, overpriced popcorn, overpriced candy, overpriced soda, okay? In a movie theater, sitting with a bunch of people that may make the experience worse for you. Now you can do this at home, especially if, like, I'm going to watch a Flash. I'm just not going to go to the box office to see it. Again, I'm a unique stream from Amy, but there are going to be people in the middle going, eh. Okay, so Perry Gaming, look at that. Okay, he and his family went. He dropped like $120. Okay, so you might go once in a while.
BJ's correct as well. You had a better multiverse movie come out just 2 weeks beforehand.
Yeah, but again, I'm telling you, so they also pointed out in this article that rom-coms, forget about it. You're never going to see another box office success for a rom-com. Okay, there's no reason for anybody to like Perry Gaming, drop $120 for a rom-com. I'll wait until it streams. I don't need to see it in IMAX, right? So why spend that money? It'll be a good date night between a husband and a wife, whatever. Okay. However you want to slice that pie, save some money, especially if you have a whole bunch of kids. Why spend that money? You don't really need to see that, okay, on a big screen. If you want to go to dinner, go to dinner. Now go someplace nicer than, say, a Fridays, a TGI Fridays or a Ruby Tuesdays, and then a movie. Now you can go to, maybe you can go to Capital Grille. Now you're not dropping, $120 at the movie theater. But I believe that ultimately they've got to reassess how they're measuring success. If it's an issue of box office, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. So you look at sporting events. As the cost of that became exorbitant. So I got a pair of free Phillies tickets. Take my nephew, $30 to park my car. Okay, get in there. He's got to have the little ice cream in the souvenir batting helmet. Okay, $9. Okay, well, now he's got to have the commemorative soda cup that he keeps, $9. Okay, $12 for domestic beer. All right, he wanted a cheeseburger with fries, $15. I get a sausage and peppers, that's $10. Okay, he needed the big foam finger. That was the cheapest thing of the day. That was $5. All right. By the time you're said and done, my free tickets probably cost me a couple hundred. And I can see replays. You're a sports fan, I mean, you can see, you can watch a football game much better on the TV than you can at the real game.
Yeah.
But every now and again, I will go because tailgating, being at the game. My nephew ended up, he's so lucky. He met Ruben Amaro Jr. He met John Middleton, the owner. It happened to be Phillies Hall of Fame day. So they were all there. It was great. The game, players about this big. Okay. I claim I can see balls and strikes, but, of course, it's about the size of an atom from where I'm sitting. Okay. But thank you, 6'2" lefty. So the point of fact, though, is that sporting event still gives me something. There's something to be said. My nephew had a great time. He got to wave his big foam finger. He got to meet, significant members of the organization. We got to walk around. We got to sit and watch the game. There's still that experience. What am I getting in the movie theater? Okay. And I've seen what they've done. It's not, they cleaned up the floor. They're big lounge seats. Other than that, what is it you're giving me I can't reproduce at home if I have a big high def TV?
Well, for some people, they would tell you the experience of watching it with an audience, right? I know that's a reason why a lot of people like going to the theaters. Those of us who love going to theaters.
John does not.
Especially with the blockbusters.
Actually,
you
John
get the
told...
reactions like, oh my gosh, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, there was something magical about seeing like Infinity War and Endgame in the theater, and like when the big moments happened, to hear the gasping of the audience or the cheering.
Experience of my life was Endgame, the opening night.
Yeah, but I really prefer when I specifically go at times to the theater where there's not going to be a lot of people there, right? So to me, it's not even the audience factor necessarily. Because I grew up in theaters, I worked at a movie theater. I've always found movie theaters to be a very magical, almost mystical, mythical place, right? So I just love the whole idea of it. And yeah, it can be expensive, but that's why I got my AMC A-list card. But I mean, what I can't replicate at my house is the giant screen, the state-of-the-art sound system, the digital projector. You know, like that's the kind of stuff that I can't. And the perfect darkness and hopefully the correct brightness on the screen. I find it to be a very magical experience to go into a giant theater and see something.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying it isn't for you, it isn't for Amy, but what I'm saying is that there are less of you, and that number is dwindling because what you just said you can't reproduce. Some people can. Okay, they can in their basement of their house put some big recliners in there. Get the biggest TV, takes up most of the wall. Okay, all of a sudden.
I got friends that have like 70+ inch TVs in theater rooms, and it's cool, but it ain't the same. It ain't the same at all. You know, like that. I mean, I don't know. Like I know people with great sound systems.
Good. VR headset. How far are we away from that? Just slip on your headset and you're in the movie theater, bro.
Oh, they already got that, bro. They already got that.
So there you go. My point is this:
but that's like $5,000. So
well, you go to enough movies over time. How much have you spent? Okay, so there are two problems that I think, and I think this guy is in his article is incredibly astute in what he's saying. So really, it's only the blockbusters. You're not going to go see rom-coms. You're not going to go see any kind of adult drama story that doesn't have a lot of action because you don't need the big screen, right? So then you've got people that go to the movie theaters like yourself, like John, who enjoy that experience for those intangibles, okay? So what do? You buy your Regal VIP, your AMC, whatever, right? And they're not really making money on you. So
yeah, they are. They're making money on me, man. They're making money on me on like $6 Sour Patch Kids and $8 popcorn. That's what they're doing. That's where theaters make their money, though. They don't make their money from ticket sales. They never have. They make their money from concessions.
Here's the thing. You should talk to John. Okay.
Well, because John orders in sushi at his theater is what he does.
Well, my daughter is openly admit they sneak food in. Okay. You know, they'll go to, around here, Wawa, get a Wawa hoagie and sneak it right in. You know, who's going to check? You're going to ask some poor 17-year-old kid making minimum wage to frisk everybody? Okay. I mean, it's a losing model because you can't draw enough traffic anymore. All right. You guys are now the exception.
I get what you're saying in general and how that affects movies in general. And we've had that discussion about like how everything's got to be a big tentpole franchise thing. But like,
it's more than that. I think what he's saying is that, first of all, the kind of rush to watch it opening night is beginning to dwindle. Okay. Because most of the bulk of the traffic, you're going to have your people like Amy, others like John, who are going to get out there that first night, first day. Okay. The movie experience is meaningful to them. Okay. But most of what they're chasing sits in the middle. Okay. They do get something out of going to the movie theaters, but they don't see it quite the same way that you guys do. All right. So, and it has become a very heavy expense. So they're waiting, their friend, like Amy's friends, your friends, John's friends, they're waiting for you to come back and say, hey, oh my God, it was off the hook. It was great. It was okay, whatever. And they're making their decision. Are we going to go see this one in the movie theater, or are we going to wait until it comes out streaming? Now, Flash, as I said, didn't sound like it was a very good movie.
Word of mouth, also a big one.
But that's what I'm talking about. It's word of mouth.
Bad movie, you tell people to avoid. But if it is a good movie, that does help a good movie, get more people in the theater and make them get them.
And Flash reviews dropped. Flash reviews dropped like a week before the film released too. So, and a lot of them were kind of mediocre, right? So, yeah.
Well, the early ones were super overhyped.
Yeah, they were.
Okay, 10 reasons.
So what he's saying is that you cannot count on just now. There was a time when you can count on a superhero film, box office, even if it's so-so, okay? Box office success, okay? Thor, Love and Thunder, okay? But now the audience is becoming more, as we've talked about, we're more critical about these movies coming out. We're more critical about, they're not an automatic success. You have Ant-Man and you're looking at that and we don't think it's a success. So those string of failures of just throwing it against the wall and seeing and it would stick is gone. And as a result, the movie theaters are going to suffer more and more and more. And it doesn't look like the studios are in any rush to hold movies back long enough, which they used to do for the movie theaters, to make it worthwhile. Because that becomes another competing problem. As the time shortens from the time it's in the movie theater and it goes streaming, then you discourage the audience more and more to hit the box office. Because now the one thought of, well, you're going to have to wait 6 months to see this. All right. And some people may not want to wait 6 months. They're like, all right, I'll go see it. But now with shortened time frame, you're like, well, that's not so bad. I can wait.
Yeah, they've already announced that The Flash is dropping on Blu-ray in September, for instance.
Exactly. So my point is for somebody like me, I've definitely felt it. There used to be, and I still wouldn't go to the movie theater, but I felt like, wow, that's a really long time, 6 months before I could see it. Now, a couple months, 3 months, boom, it's there. Okay. So you're losing more that way. So I don't know how movie theaters, unless, excuse me, they find some way. And I know they were experimenting with it decades ago, like a full service restaurant. They'll serve you at your table. You got to give us something more. Okay. Barco loungers and stuff like that is not enough. Not enough for the general audience. You're not going to fill movie theaters doing that.
So what you're saying, Rex, is that to you, The Flash is underperforming significantly just as part of the ongoing trend of less people going to the movie theater.
Well, yeah, I guess I am. I guess my real point is that the measure of success, the parameters of success have got to change. All right. And I thought this several years ago. So how do you know something's really a success? Just by box office numbers? See, I don't think that really is a good measure anymore. Because
the bean counters, as you like to call them frequently, that's what they care about, right? They care about how much they put in and how much they're getting back.
It's never that simple. No, it's never that simple. Bean counters are, they care about the beans and they care about counting them. But they can count them certain ways to make it look different. Okay. All right. There are all kinds of ways they can count things to make the final number look different than it is. There are certain assumptions that have to be taken. Okay. But yeah, I don't believe it's them. I think you need a fundamental shift, and it's hard to do because since the inception of movies, this was the one litmus test: box office. So you have to take it up into another way. And right now they got to figure it out. Part of figuring it out. All right. Yeah, figure drawing. I would agree with that. Part of the way is, how do you measure the streaming success? Okay. We had a way with Nielsen. So when does that come into when does that come into account? Okay. On-demand purchases. You got to take that into account as well.
That's what Hollywood's fighting over right now, like how to make profit off of streaming. That's why the writers are pissed, because they're not making money off of the streaming shows.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies, the production studios, they're like freaking because they're like, they have learned, like Disney Plus has not made money. Max is not making money. Like these services are not making money for them, and they're having to put so much money into it to have this original content. That's why, if you notice, there was stuff that just came out today or yesterday about DC licensing some of their stuff out, because that's how you make money in streaming, is allowing a streaming service to pay licensing rights for your stuff. And when they switched to that model where everybody was trying to do their own stuff, they started losing money, and they're trying to get that. I think that's one of the reasons why they're trying to push people back into the theaters.
Yeah, I'm not, Joe Fawley. You have to look at it a different way. If you don't believe that there's any profit in putting it on streaming, why are all these big companies made this massive rush to have their own streaming channel? Okay, and you cannot blame the pandemic. This was all planned. It was going this direction before the pandemic. The pandemic may have accelerated things, okay, but it didn't create it.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, though, Rex, they're finding out now that they're not making money by doing their own streaming services. The way they made money was when Netflix paid them to have the Star Trek stuff.
No, that's what they're telling you.
Okay.
Right?
You got a conspiracy about this? Are they lying?
I don't know. It's interesting, doesn't it? Around the same time that information came out, everybody jacked their prices. Around the same time that information came out, okay, Netflix was toying with the no lending your account out, and I heard that was a massive success for Netflix. Their subscriptions went way up at that point. Okay, all right, so expect it to happen on every other streaming channel because they've seen another area of profitability. Okay, but I will tell you right now that I don't believe any of these companies when they say, oh, we are losing so much money on streaming. Oh, we're killing. Maybe it's not working. Okay, maybe it's not at the profitable point that you think it should be. But you can't tell me you're losing money. Okay, and notice, nobody has ever followed up with any books. Nobody's willing to open their books to show it to you. Netflix isn't. Right? So it makes you kind of, Max isn't. So it makes you kind of wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay.
You have hypothetical situations. They got to be losing money. They got to be losing money. Every good business that I've ever seen or been associated with, when they're losing money, they stop. How did Netflix start?
It was really just they didn't make original content at first.
No. How did Netflix start?
Sending DVDs through the mail.
Bingo. Okay. Small business sending DVDs, making it very easy for you to exchange. Didn't charge you late fees. It was a brilliant new business model. You didn't get late fees because you forgot, but you could only ask for so many DVDs. And if you didn't return them, you couldn't get another one. It was brilliant. Okay. Pretty much shut down Blockbuster.
Yeah.
All right. Then they got into streaming because they realized, and I think recently they set their last DVD or whatever. They closed that end of the business finally. Correct, Dynamite. So then they ditched the CD end because streaming was more profitable. Okay, and DVDs was becoming a dinosaur. So streaming came up, and they saw that they had an ability to create their own content, and then they did, and then everybody else jumped into the game. Everybody, Disney, Max, who are Paramount. And started pulling their licenses. And that was a problem for Netflix. That's why they moved to original content, because they realized, oh my God, all these guys are getting into the game. They're going to pull all the licenses. And that's what happened. And so you're telling me that this whole experiment, Disney, Netflix, Max, all of them, they're all losing money hand over fist. It was the dumbest thing ever. And that's why movie theaters aren't going to die? They're not making any money. Interesting, isn't it? I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And it's not tinfoil stuff. It's the writing on the wall, people. The board isn't sitting around watching you lose money hand over fist. Okay, if they think you're messing it up, like Chapek, you're out of here. Iger's coming back. Okay, he's done fishing. He's coming back to helm the ship. So if they can react like that, do you really think that the overall concept is losing money? And I don't pretend to know the books, but doesn't seem right to me. Go ahead, Amy. You're gonna say something.
Yeah. What do you think, Amy, about what Rex was saying?
It's tough because there's really no straight answer for this. But I totally see your point to how complicated it is, really. And then I was thinking about what I really was thinking about was what you said about like what's considered
figure drawing. I would never do that. Nothing would get done. Okay, my days would be so miserable. I can't even begin to describe.
It's hard. I guess how you say like how the theaters are dying, but like streaming's not working. Like it's sad because you think everything's working out, but then it's really not. And it's like what does it mean for the future of film and television and how we see it, and it's so uncertain, and then
it's changing. Okay, yeah. It's changing. There's nothing you can do about it. It is the eventual evolution of just You know, it started with the very first iPhone, and we were getting information that way. To I actually before that, your iPod, okay, and being able to stream movies on your iPod.
Like having things now.
It's changed everything. So 62 Lefty. Listen, I can't explain Disney. I can't explain Netflix. I can't explain HBO Max. But my question is, I don't know how they measure success or failure when it comes to live streaming.
But you're definitely right about, like, we can't just judge something on a box office anymore, because there's the hundreds of films out there. How many of them were the box office flop but then became the cult, the cult classic and the favorite? And then how many? And then
I kind of agree with Marcus. What Marcus is saying. Yeah, I think that the war started when everybody pulled and started to create their own streaming service, and we're still in the middle of it. And I think he's right. There are probably some channels that are not profitable. Okay, I don't think it's Disney. I think Disney, they're the 800-pound gorilla on the block. They own all the IP. Now they own the streaming. That's hard to beat, man. That's really hard to beat. I think Max and Netflix are fighting for positioning. I don't know how they're going to do it. But the smaller ones, yeah, I agree with Marcus. I think we're going to see one start to bow out or get bought out or absorbed or swallowed. But my point is this. I don't know how they measure profitability, at streaming services. The only thing we know of is they measure by how many subscribers, right? And figure drawing, you were right about what you said earlier. They made Netflix, when they clamped down on the sharing, man, they made a boatload of money. So what does that say to us? That the streaming model it does work, okay? And Netflix does not have the power of or the inventory of IP that Disney does. But they found this one trick, and I'll give Netflix this much. Because they've been around longer than everybody else, they're maybe a little ahead of the curve, and they realized this needed to happen. And it got major backlash, and they tried it, and they pulled it, and then they did it again. And what it's told them is that, yeah, they're not going to abandon you. They're going to complain. They're going to push back, but they're So why would the subscribers go up? Because all the people that got cut off, okay, from mommy and daddy's account, like, oh man, now I got to get my own account, okay, and that's going to push that up. And the other streaming services are going to see it. They're going to do exactly the same thing. Why would they? They see that, yeah, we're going to get some pushback, but they don't really mean it. Just a bunch of stamping your feet and complaining. They're gonna subscribe. You watch, okay. I know that if Disney does it, maybe they don't do it to try and just try to gain, I don't know, profitability somewhere else off of that. Like, hey, we don't do that kind of thing. I don't know, but if they do it, will it work? It sure will. There's way too much IP. Okay, I know I would definitely do it because I watch a lot of stuff on Disney Plus. Netflix, I'm actually kind of back and forth on, but I already pay for it, so it's not like, and they have a lot of international movies I enjoy. Max, I don't know. Sometimes I they have something I really like on it, and then some months I'm like, why am I paying for this? So I don't know. I'm kind of waffling. All right. I still have Peacock though because I just never remember to cancel it.
Yeah. And then by the time you remember to cancel it, the Olympics will be coming back.
The Olympics and Paris are going to start. So what would be the point now, right?
So basically, what I'm getting from this conversation so far is that me and Amy think that The Flash has flopped for a multitude of reasons, all combined, right? Ezra Miller situation, the fact that there's a reboot on the horizon, less people excited about the DCEU, its track record just not doing so well. Rex thinks that the reason why The Flash failed is because of this giant, vast conspiracy about Netflix and streaming services and Disney. I'm just kidding. It's just, I love how you turned it into another streaming service show, and I love that. I think that's great. But no, valid points, because when people know, I can just wait a little bit, watch it at home, not spend $200 for popcorn and sodas and drinks and beers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I get it. It's the same thing when they started televising sports back in the day. Remember?
Beer.
What?
What movie theater are you going to where they have beer?
Mine sells beer.
Really?
Yeah, we have movie theaters that serve beer.
I might change my mind now.
Rex is like, wait, They got beer in movie theaters now?
Yeah, they have a fridge with different kinds of beer, so you can order one.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Rex ain't been in a movie theater in a while, Amy, apparently.
TMX, I agree with you. That's a very good point right there. That TMX
was Ezra the biggest part of it? Oh, definitely didn't help.
No, maybe, I don't think
maybe
Ezra was the biggest part of it.
Slightly better.
It would have
a little. Maybe have done a little better if they did.
I really don't think. I think we were past that.
There's another thing. Again, they didn't do tradition. They didn't really do a traditional press tour. Like Michael Keaton wasn't promoting this movie.
Yeah.
The Flash himself couldn't really promote the movie. I mean, Supergirl was around, and she was good in the movie, but again, they didn't.
Time out. Did they really need it? I mean, we all knew it was coming. We've been hearing about it now for years. Okay, Ezra kept it in the news, obviously. So did you really need it? I mean, it's not like some obscure independent movie or historical biography that you don't really know about, and they do a press tour and they're like, oh yeah, this is coming out. Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I'm watching the Today Show before I go to work. Like, oh really? That looks interesting. I didn't know that movie.
Marketing,
you know what I'm saying?
Plays another big thing. And
I don't know. I don't know if it plays that big a role. I mean, we knew about this movie. This movie got more publicity than almost every other movie I've ever seen.
Right. Not necessarily for years, and
it's not necessarily positive, but the old saying that even bad news is good.
The fact that it came out at all is a miracle.
Yeah.
But I think TMX has brought up a good point. A part of the demise, I think, the movie theaters is that there's so much content to watch. And I don't know. It's weird. My buddy who went to see The Flash, we joke because I still haven't seen Secret Invasions, right? So we're talking on the phone. He goes, have you seen it yet? I'm like, nah, I haven't. He goes, are you friggin' watching Star Trek again? And it's almost like, it's weird. I find myself doing this, right? I get home, it's late, like last night, it's 8 o'clock. I'm thinking, I'm going to go watch Secret Invasion. Get home, do a couple things, have a couple beers, and I'm thinking, man, I don't feel like focusing on something. So what do? Heroes and Icons, another episode of Star Trek, okay? And it's kind of like white noise. I kind of watch it, but I do something on the laptop. But then I see a scene I really like, so I watch it because I don't need to watch the whole thing. I know what happens in this episode. I've seen it a million times. And it's almost as if I'm there's so many choices. Like I used to, when way back when my dog was a puppy, loved to chase tennis balls. So me and my friend, we decided we'd play trick. So we had a whole bag of tennis balls and we threw them all out at once. And the dog just looking around, trying to decide which one to get. There were too many. It was like, I feel like that. There's so many choices. I don't want to start something new. My head's going to explode. So guess what? I'm going to watch another episode of Star Trek. Original series. Next Generation. Deep Space Nine. Voyager. I've seen them all. So it's kind of weird that way. So so TMX, I agree with you. There's so much that I actually receive. There's too much. I can't deal with it. Too many tennis balls.
Yeah, and not even just talking about film and television, just everything going on. There's more things to do in the world nowadays. There's more things to do with social media and things like that. So the competition isn't just always from other films and other television shows and stuff. So I'll tell you what this is telling me though, is that I think that there's going to be a couple years of some bleak numbers from DC, like if the Flash with Michael Keaton coming back as Batman couldn't really catch fire. I hope Blue Beetle does well, but I don't anticipate that movie doing super well to begin with. I think Aquaman 2 is going to be a massive flop comparatively, especially to the first one, which was their only $1 billion movie outside of the Joker, right? But it's going to be a while until they get back on the right path. And, that Superman movie's not coming out till 2025, and we'll see what happens then. But they got to start making some moves because I think they got a couple years of some bad movie or some just bad results coming out from what they're doing. So I don't know. I saw a video. I think John Campea was talking about this. Marvel announced that they're not going to be at San Diego this year. He's like, this is DC's chance. Like, announce your Superman, announce your Batman. And another interesting thing, and you usually don't ever see this happening. The director of this film, Andy Muschietti, who did It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, he directed The Flash. This movie flopped. Usually a studio would be like, all right, well, thanks. It was nice working with you. But they're like, we're giving you the next Batman movie. You're doing Brave and the Bold. So they already cast or hired him to direct a movie for James Gunn's DCU. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. What do y'all think about what the future is going to look like up until the beginning of the James Gunn era for sure?
You're probably, I mean, I was going to say you're probably right that, like, yeah, these final couple movies might not be super good, but yeah, once we have the official restart, I do see it looking up. Because again, I don't think James Gunn really has a bad film on his resume, because all three Guardians are great. His Suicide Squad film, even though it didn't make a lot of money, it's still a phenomenally better film than the first one. Peacemaker series, great. They're getting a second season. So, and right, if he's gonna have this new vision for Superman, I think it is really gonna help. And and right, with the plan that they're working on, he's gonna make sure he gets the right people for each project, and they'll still do the Elseworld stuff. We'll still have the Robert Pattinson Batman, and right, you can still go see those movies without having to stay on the main universe. You can. That was all, and he's playing into the thing that was always DC's biggest strength. That while you can have a main universe, you don't always have to stick to the main universe. You can just do these one-offs that people will go see if it fits their kind of style, and then those movies can still be successful. And that's really, and right, and their Elseworld movies are kind of the bigger successes in the past few years. Like, the Batman did great, Joker did great. So he is. I see him definitely digging into their strengths. I have all the confidence in the world with how he's gonna bring it back.
All right. So realistically, I think that you've got two major watershed moments for DC. Okay, I think that the first one is the end of the DCEU. Okay, so does Aquaman flop? Does it even get made? At this point. So no matter what, I believe that the general public has been so disappointed by DC that these are already they've got the odds stacked against them.
Maybe if Blue Beetle gets good word of mouth, it'll help it.
I think I think that Gunn has then one shot. Okay, one shot to so. I don't know if he did it with Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if it's going to happen with Blue Beetle, but he's got one shot. I think he's got enough goodwill that he's got one shot to really make that work. But the problem with James Gunn is that when DC and its infinite bumbling kind of created that situation where it seems like it's almost James Gunn versus Zack Snyder. So there is always going to be a portion of the public out there that is rooting for James Gunn to fail. So that is something that I would say, Feige did not have to go through, because he got to start in relative anonymity, right? Nobody knew who Kevin Feige was when Iron Man came out. Who's this guy? It wasn't until much later. Personally, I don't know what they're going to do. Again, that's how I believe it's going to unfold. So I think that the end of the DCEU, whatever you want to call it, Snyderverse, or obviously you have the Whedon kind of a period of time. No matter what, the expectations are so down. So let me put it this way. Regular fans probably won't like it, because it seems like the storyline is a mess, and we all know it's going to end and it's going to restart under Gunn, right, with Blue Beetle. So they're not going to like it, okay, or they're not going to love it. So then you have those that maybe would have liked the DCEU because they're part of the Snyder fans, the Snyderverse. But now that Gunn is handling it, or in charge, so to speak, they're going to hate it too. No matter what. Doesn't matter if it's the best film ever. They're going to hate it because it's not Zack Snyder. Okay. All right. So with those two factions definitely probably not going to support the film, how can it be a success? Who's going to watch it? So it's almost kind of doomed to failure. And maybe this is the kind of discussion they're having right now in at DC. Who knows? After seeing that The Flash was not well received, they said, test it well or whatever. The Flash movie, they kind of shot themselves in the foot from the very start. You know, you had Zaslav going out, you know, killing Batgirl and saying, "Oh, the Flash tests are great. You know, it's great." So it was already a bad look because that was in the middle of Ezra Miller's kind of implosion, if you will. So you had that. So clearly, it made DC look like, yeah, well, we got so much invested in this, we'll put up with his nonsense. Okay, but Batgirl, nah, it's out of here. Okay, so it made it very clear that they were motivated by money, nothing else, right? You know, Batgirl's a big tax write-off. So then to defend your decision, well, you know, it tested really well, people really enjoyed it, and now you've released it, and clearly what you told was not completely the truth. It couldn't have tested that well, or did you just like hire people that were in your immediate family? I don't know. Okay, those that was the sampling you took, right? So you know, with that being said, it kind of killed the movie, you know, before it could even kind of get out of the gate in that sense, right? And now that people have gone to see it and it's not good, now people are coming back. That's going to affect the end of the DCEU, because now we know, well, Big Fat Liars didn't test that well. It couldn't have. It's not that good. Okay. And you were willing to take a huge moral risk with Ezra Miller to get it on screen. And your reason was, well, you know, it tested really well. People really enjoyed it. We've worked on it so long, we don't want to disappoint the fans. The one thing you've made very apparent was all that was poo-poo. That was caca. They didn't really mean it. It was about the money. It was always about the money.
Yeah.
And now you got a problem. Okay, because the movie was not well received. Okay, you took all your kind of moral coin and gambled on it, that it would be great, people would love it, and they forget all about what you did. And it didn't do really well, so people aren't going to forget, and topics are going to come back out. What you really sacrificed to get to this point.
Yeah.
Right. And the Snyder Gunn thing, that again is that's something that they of their own creation. Okay. You either stuck with Snyder or you didn't. But clearly the fans, there's a percentage of fans that loved it. So you ditched him, and then you had Whedon come in the middle of that, and then you hired Gunn to head off the whole thing. Not that I think hiring Gunn and Safran was a bad idea, just that, man, it's like bringing in a relief pitcher with bases loaded and no outs. Like, here you go.
Yeah,
good luck,
buddy. Yeah.
Work your way out of this one. You know, so it's just again, the litany of mistakes that they've made through the years. You just can't just hire James Gunn and say it's over. Yay. The baggage doesn't go away.
Comments is just like how the Snyderverse did, and
that's exactly my point. You say you got two sides: people who loved it, people who hated it, and then
the people in between. I guess I would call myself probably one of the people in between, because out of that area of DC movies, there are some great gems in there.
So
even I think
you right, but your problem is this:
few of them really not great. Most of them are mid, but like the few gems in there, the first Shazam, the first Wonder Woman, James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I really enjoy Birds of Prey. So, and then as crazy as it sounds, I'd arguably make Flash as one of the better DCEU movies. Like
here's the problem with the other movies.
Not by much, but still
the end of the movies,
one of the better
right?
ones.
At the end of the DCEU, right? You've got we've seen the Flash, or the Flash has come out not good, or general opinion not good. Box office failure. Okay, so you've got that. So people who maybe are Gunn fans, and it's not Gunn's work really, right? So even though he's at the helm, finishing out the DCEU is not his work per se. It's not his vision. So people who are James Gunn fans are going to be like, nah, you know, it's going to suck, and this is the end of it, whatever. And then James Gunn starts with Blue Beetle. Yay, I'm going to go watch that. So the Gunn fans aren't really going to support it, right? Then you have the Snyder fans. Because Gunn is at the helm, they're going to say, well, this sucked, and it would have been better if they just let Zack Snyder finish out his universe. Okay, so they're going to hate it. So who's going to like it? Before it's seeing a single minute, it's already doomed to failure. and that's their own fault. That really is. So,
all right. Well, the question is for everybody out there. What do you think is the reason why the Flash flopped? If you're watching this on the replay, let us know in the comments. If you're watching this live, thank you so much for participating in the chat. Flash flopped for a lot of reasons, and we discussed a lot of them tonight, and this conversation could keep going for hours, but Rex and Amy got a publishing company to run, so we're going to let them get to it, and I might go see Flash. I don't know. I think this has made me want to go see it even more. So
in the end, Robbie, I mean, even if it's not a perfect movie, you'll still have fun with it because there's plenty of things to like in it.
Yeah, that's what I hear, and I got to get it watched before. Now Indiana Jones is about to come out. We're going to be reviewing that, and this is a loaded summer for movies, as they usually are. So
it's a big year overall, but yeah, especially the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very pumped for Mission Impossible, actually. So the closer we get to that, the more excited I get. And OUG enjoyed the Flash too. I know plenty of people. Spilio loved the Flash. My buddy Mike loved the Flash.
Really loved the Flash. Good for you. Good for you. Happy to hear that.
Yeah. All right, Rex, what do you guys have coming up?
All right, so tonight Nick will be on the Experience at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be obviously his original art show, but it's going to be a portion of the time. It's going to be about talking about and remembering John Romita Sr. A lot of great stories. He's going to have some art from John Romita Sr. Not for sale though, just to kind of talk about to present. So if you are a John Romita Sr. fan, you don't want to miss this show. Nick obviously knew him for a long time, and so some great personal stories, and just to kind of honor the man. And a few pieces will be there for sale as well if you are a collector. So definitely tune in 7 p.m. And then of course we'll be back on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Rockin Robbie and my buddy John, and we'll have some great comic collectibles. So what are you up to this weekend?
Well, I will be making an appearance on Dylan's Horror Show tomorrow to talk about a very underappreciated George A. Romero film, Martin, which is a kind of a vampire film from back in the 70s. I really, really like this film, so I'm excited to be on Dylan's Horror Show again tomorrow night. Monday night, we finish off Crew's Choice with Joe Corallo's pick, and he picked Gandahar, which is a 1987 French animated film that is very difficult to find to watch. However, there are versions on YouTube you can watch. Just turn on the captions to get the English subtitles. So you definitely want to watch it. It's a really cool, surreal, psychedelic almost kind of film. Not psychedelic, but very cerebral and very weird and cool. I liked it a lot. So it was a cool pick from Joe. And then Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, a special edition of Rockin Robbie Live, where we will be revealing the Action Fest 2023 lineup for PCP Movie Night, as well as me sharing my haul and my stories and my pictures for my Heroes Con experience. So that's what you got coming up from me. Dylan's Horror Show tomorrow night, Rockin Robbie Live, Heroes Con edition on Sunday, and Gandahar, Joe Corallo's pick on Monday night. So that's what we got coming up.
Cool.
Yeah. Lots cool. So we appreciate everybody for joining us. We really appreciate you out there in the chat, keeping everything going. Thank you so much. Let us know in the comments, though. What did you think of Flash? Why do you think it flopped? Why do you think it failed? What do you think the future is going to be until James Gunn officially gets his universe underway? We're dipping out, y'all.